hours, India at 9.
That brings us to our talking point tonight, and we're asking, on the back of this, the man who we consider responsible for India's 9/11, the man who's the equivalent of what Osama bin Laden would have been for America, he now walks out of jail. Does that necessitate India calling off all ties with Pakistan? What really are the options before the government of India? Joining us on our talking point tonight, Rajiv Dogra is former Deputy High Commissioner to Pakistan. General Ved Prakash Malik, former Chief of Army Staff, joining us from Chandigarh. Jai Narayan Vyas, senior leader of the BJP from Ahmedabad. Rupin Doshi is a close family friend of one of the Oberoi attack survivors. And joining us from Islamabad is Shahzeb Jilani, journalist with the BBC. General Malik, Rajiv Dogra referred to a range of options that we have. Within the ambit of being a responsible power, and we most certainly are a responsible power, militarily, as a former Chief of Army Staff, what options does the government of India have?
No, at the moment, Zaka, I don't think we should be considering any military options. Military options should be considered only when there is some kind of an attack on India again, of the kind 26/11 or the attack on the parliament. But at the moment, Ziaur Rahman Lakhvi's release for any military action. But let me also mention here that I feel that the impact of his release will be more on Pakistan and Pakistan politics than on India or Indo-Pakistan relations. And also, I would not subscribe to people who say that we should call off any kind of talks. The talks, even during Kargil war, we continue to speak to each other, both at the military level as well as the political level. But as I can see it already, Pakistan has gone down in India's foreign policy priorities. And with this incident, it will go down further in our effort to resume a dialogue with Pakistan.
No, but General Malik, that is fine. You know, if we can get Rupin Doshi in. Rupin Doshi is a friend of one of the Oberoi attack survivors. And before I go to Rupin, General Malik, what would you tell Rupin and hundreds of families like his who've borne the brunt of 26/11? Here's the man that India considers was the mastermind. His was the voice on the other side directing Kasab and the 9 other terrorists to unleash the mayhem that they did. What would you tell them?
No, you know, I do feel sorry for people like him, and we have all our sympathies toward for him and others. But you know, we decided not to take military action at that time, soon after 26/11, and we decided to pursue this whole case diplomatically and through judicial process, and that has been going on for so many years. So one feels very sad, and one would like to see that people like Lakhvi and others who were involved are punished. But I don't think we can punish them in India now. It has to be done by Pakistan. Okay. And it is quite evident that Pakistan is not interested in pursuing this case.
Rupin, I mean, having closely seen the attack and been affected by it, what does a day like this mean for you? I mean, the fact that here's the man that India believes was the mastermind behind 26/11 is walking out of a jail. I mean, do you feel that justice will ever be done in this case?
You know, when a man loses his life, the concept of justice goes out of the window. Whether Lakhvi gets released by Pakistan government or not, it doesn't matter. His release generates anger in our minds, but it doesn't really help us in terms of the emotional layer that we need to put on ourselves to continue our lives. So if you ask me what should we be doing and should India break off ties with Pakistan, if you're going to go after Pakistan, hammer and tongs, break off all ties. If you're going to put the fear of God in every terrorist who wants to hurt us, break off all ties. If you're going to unequivocally tell the international community that here is a rogue nation, break off all ties. If the Pakistan government realizes that you can't mess with India, break off all ties. What you're talking about breaking off ties are just diplomatic and military ties, government to government ties. What about educational ties? What about business ties? What about cricketing ties? What about the exchange, cultural exchange between people? What about the Bollywood and Pakistani music industry ties? The countries have been united at the hip. There are huge ties with them. So you can't really have one isolated incident, not an isolated, but it's a big one, but one incident affect everything. I will say engage with the enemy. Talk to him. If you talk to him, at least you get to know what he's thinking. The other thing which I must say is, now that this episode has happened and the courts have released him, it's good. It's good the same way that Kasab was given the due judicial process in India, including when Hillary Clinton came to Bombay, Kasab was in jail and the trial was going on. It actually broadcast before the international community that India follows the democratic process. So now that Lakhvi has been released from jail, the whole world knows that here is a rogue nation. And Pakistan saying that India delayed it and all, nobody believes it. Pakistan has no credibility to say anything that anybody will believe. And this stuff that we've been hearing for a long time about non-state actors is also something that nobody believes.
Rupin, before I go to our other guests, before I go to our other guests, I want to say I salute you. I salute you because you've seen firsthand the damaging and devastating effects of 26/11, and yet here you are on our channel, on national TV, saying that, look, calling off ties is simply not possible. We don't live in an isolated world. We cannot make pariah states out of our neighbors, which is not much at all given today's trade figures. Economically, there's hardly anything that we have in terms of pressure points to try and bring the Pakistanis onto the table. What we did have, and I think we continue to have, is some kind of leverage with the Americans. Do you think that's the only option that we have, to try and go back to America, tell President Obama, please, this is a big concern for us. Why don't you please impress upon the Pakistanis that they need to do more? Is that realistically our only option outside of the military options that you mentioned?
No. I don't think that we can only be into USA. Beside the whatever has been mentioned by Rajiv Dogra, I think we need to internationalize this whole case more strongly than we have been doing so far. As we heard just now on your channel, that as it is, the French themselves are concerned about it, and they are the ones who have told our Indian delegation that this is going to have an impact on the whole world. So unless, sanctioned by one nation is not going to make any difference at all in any economic field. Therefore, if you want to put any kind of sanction, it has to be from the complete international community, from everyone together.
Okay.
Only then it can work. And I think we have not raised the level to that extent. And since there were many international foreigners who were killed in this particular incident of 26/11, I think we can raise this voice internationally.
Okay, I want to give 30 seconds closing comments to Rupin, because I think you deserve that, Rupin. What would you like your government do next in order to give you some kind of sense of closure to this episode?
First thing is that I have nothing to do with Pakistan or America and who's supplying arms to them. I'm only concerned with the Indian people and Indian government. So if my government takes positive action, if they take affirmative action instead of the defensive action that we've been seeing all along, then it gives me some kind of security, it gives some kind of confidence. Closure in emotional terms will never happen. Okay, when you lose somebody, it never happens as long as you're alive. But at least you have some confidence in your government that these guys are not talking. What I've been seeing, this government, any government, is that they're just talking. And you're saying you made tough talks, but just still talks. We want action, man. You need to go out there, go for them. So unless that the government actually takes action, we see less number of infiltrators in the LOC, we actually see less terrorism, we see less rogue people around in the world. I don't think we are going to be satisfied. India is always threatened by a Pak-based terror. So that will always remain for 1.3 billion citizens.
Okay.
So I think it's very important that if the citizens of India have to get closure with this, the government has to be firm, push the agenda diplomatically at every level, militarily, whatever they want. The generals know better how it is done militarily. But for the common man, closure will only come when I am secure in the fact that I am protected. My nation is protected.
All right, and that's. I mean, you couldn't have put it in better words. 6 years after 26/11, is our country any safer? I think the jury is out on that one. But I want to thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us. It's not been a chest-thumping, desk-thumping, hyperbolic discussion. We've had some very, very good points from all of you. Thank you very much indeed. I really appreciate all of you all joining us tonight on our Talking Point. And as we take a break, we leave you with our in-house cartoonist Neelab and his take on Lakhvi walking out of jail.